Hey, welcome back. So, let's talk about something you've probably felt, that deep division we see everywhere, left versus right, us versus them. Well, what if I told you it's not an accident? What if it's all part of a game? A game that's been set up to keep us playing, and more importantly, to keep us distracted. Okay, let's just dive right in with this. On the left, you've got a super serious political debate, and on the right, a totally chaotic, messy celebrity gossip show. I mean, on the surface, they couldn't be more different, right? But the source material for today argues they're playing the exact same game. Both of them work by creating two opposing teams, stirring up a ton of drama, and then forcing you, the viewer, to pick a side. They're just two different flavors of the same conflict-based recipe. And that brings us to the first big concept, the game of duality. We're going to break down this idea that our entire society is basically built on conflict, that it actually needs opposing teams just to function.
Yeah, this quote pretty much says it all. The whole idea here is that these rivalries are just a modern version of bread and circuses. You know, whether you're passionately rooting for your football team, your political party, or your favorite band, you're pouring all this incredible energy into a conflict that's been prepackaged for you. And these are the release valves that keep us from looking up and asking, hey, wait a minute, who built this stadium anyway? You know, it's funny. If you go back to the 90s, after the Cold War ended, there was this amazing feeling of optimism. A really famous political scientist even said we had reached the end of history. The idea was that the huge ideological fights were over. Liberal democracy had basically won. But, well, that's not quite how things turned out, is it? And what's so fascinating is that the guy who came up with that end of history idea, Francis Fukuyama, later had to completely rethink it. He realized that what really drives us, what drives history, isn't just economics. It's this deep, primal human need for recognition, for dignity. The ancient Greeks had a word for it, thumos. So the big ideological battles, they didn't just vanish. They just changed their shape and became this endless war over our identities. So why is this identity stuff so powerful? Why are we all kind of addicted to it? Well, to figure that out, we've got to look at how we're wired. I'm sure you've seen this before. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Look at what's right there in the middle. After we've got food and shelter, what's the very next thing we crave? Belonging. It's a fundamental drive. And it's right there, at that level, that our need to be part of a tribe becomes a vulnerability. It's the hook that the duality game uses to get us on the line. And this need to belong, it goes way deeper than just wanting to have friends. It's tied directly to that idea of thumos, that fiery part of us that doesn't just want to fit in. It demands to be seen, to be respected, to have its dignity recognized. And that is a seriously powerful force. And this is where things take a pretty dark turn. The system, as the source calls it, has basically hijacked this beautiful, natural human need for community and has twisted it into something else. It's been weaponized, turning that healthy sense of belonging into this aggressive tribalism where we define ourselves not by what we love, but by who we're against.
So that brings us to a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending concept. What if this state of constant division isn't actually our natural state? What if there's an original state of being that we've just forgotten? The source material gives it a name, metaphrenia.
Metaphrenia is the word for the state we're all born into. Just think about how a little kid sees the world. There's no us and them, no good guys and bad guys. Everything is just one. It's a connected, non-dual experience. And here's the key. It's not some mystical state you have to achieve. It's our default setting. It's the natural way of things that we've been conditioned to forget. This matryoshka doll is a perfect way to visualize it. We start out as that one, single, unified doll. But then, through what the source calls rituals of dualization, things like school, religion, politics, we're taught systematically to open the doll up. We're taught to see ourselves as separate pieces, to pick one identity and view all the others as different, as them.
Okay, so if we've lost this natural, unified state, how in the world do we get back to it? The idea isn't to become a child again. It's about building conscious structures, like bridges, that let our adult brains get a glimpse of that non-dual perspective once more. And our own culture actually gives us some of these bridges. Think about the crazy, absurdist humor of Monty Python, which just demolishes all logical categories. Or a movie like The Matrix or Everything Everywhere All at Once, which literally forces you to hold multiple contradictory realities in your head at the same time.
So what's really going on when we watch these things? It's not just about killing time. In a way, these movies and shows are like little training gyms for a consciousness. They're these carefully built structures that give us a taste of a more unified way of seeing the world, something that's incredibly difficult to just explain with words. They give us a shared language for these huge ideas so we don't sound totally crazy talking about them. Okay, this is all fascinating theory, but let's get practical. What does it actually mean to apply this? How do you live your life off the board, outside of that simplistic game of winning and losing?
Well, the source offers a really clear, practical technique to break out of this trap. It's called the sesión a tres bandas, or a three-way session.
Think about it. A normal debate is like a cage match. It's just pure opposition, one against one. But the moment you bring in a third person, the entire dynamic changes. The simple black and white binary just breaks. Suddenly, you can see these hidden connections and shifting alliances. And the goal here is not to win. The goal is to use that third point to see the structure of the game itself.
By acting as what the source calls a Socratic gadfly, you become that third player. You're not just arguing for one of the two choices, you're the one asking the annoying question. Hey, why are these the only two options? You're contributing another thing, a new possibility that completely changes the game.
And this really is the bottom line. True freedom isn't found in picking the right gladiator. It comes in that moment of realization when you see that the whole fight is a performance, a show put on for your benefit, and you make the choice to just stand up and walk out of the Colosseum. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If the real trap, the real prison, isn't a political party or an ideology, but our deep-seated need to have one, what does life actually look like on the other side? What happens when you just decide to stop playing the game?